Okay, number 5 and 6 both have parentheses. So we're going to start with each one of those using this first step. Use the distributive property to remove parentheses on each side of the equal sign. So number 5, I've got to distribute this 8 through my parentheses. So that means I'm going to multiply 8 times m and 8 times negative 7. A lot of times people will forget to multiply by the negative 7. In fact, they'll even forget to include the negative when they do the multiplication. So let's be really careful not to lose our place when we're doing this. I'm going to divide the equation with that sign. I'm going to make it kind of long because I expect this to be a longer one, given that there's so many things I'm going to have to do here. All right, so starting with our distributive property, I've got to do 8 times m, and I get 8m. Now, a lot of people go and draw both arrows right at the beginning, but I find that if I do one at a time, I'm more likely to do both of the steps one at a time, and then I won't make as many mistakes. Next, I'm going to do 8 times negative 7. So 8 times negative 7 is negative, so I'm going to put a subtraction sign there, 56. And then I'm not distributing the 8 through to this 6 because it's not in the parentheses. So this is going to be just a term that I bring down, plus 6m equals negative 84. So the 8 distributed through the parentheses to the m, to the negative 7, and that was it. And now we're rid of those parentheses. So the next step in our flowchart is to combine like terms on each side, not using the inverse, just combining. So I'm going to separate my terms here. I've got 3 terms on the left side and just 1 term on the right side. So I'm going to go ahead and actually bring down that right side. Nothing's going to happen to that. And then on the left side, I've got 8m here and 6m there. So 8m plus 6m, 8 plus 6 is going to be 14. So I'm going to bring down 14m. So those two combine together. And then the negative 56 does not combine with anything. So I'm just going to bring down minus 56. Now it becomes a simple 2-step equation where I move on to step number 3, which is to undo addition or subtraction. So I'm going to undo this negative 56, this subtract 56, by adding 56 on both sides. Remember, we're always focusing our inverse operations on the side where the variable is. These cancel out. I bring down the 14m. It's going to equal negative 84 plus 56. Type in my calculator, negative 84 plus 56, I get negative 28. And now to isolate the variable, I've got to get rid of this 14, this coefficient of 14. So I do that by dividing by 14 on both sides to keep it balanced. Over here I get 1m, or just m. And on the right side I have to do negative 28 divided by 14. Negative divided by positive is going to be a negative. So m equals negative 2. Okay, number 6 again is very similar. You can go ahead and try that one on your own and come back and check and see if you did it correctly, or you can follow along with me. So we're going to start with our distributive property, but in front of this parentheses, I have all these things. The only thing that's going to get distributed is this negative 6. So this negative x that's in the very, very front is just going to come down. Then this negative 6 is going to distribute through the parentheses. Negative 6 times x is going to be negative 6x. Negative 6 times negative 7 is going to be a positive 42. And that's going to equal 84. Okay. So now I've got to combine my like terms on both sides. So separate the terms. Got 3 terms. These first 2 have an x in them, so those are going to combine. Negative x is the same as negative 1x, so I'm going to squeeze a 1 in front of there. Negative 1x minus 6x. I got to combine. I've got negative 1x. I've got negative 6x. It's going to be negative 7x plus 42 equals 84. Focusing on the side with the x, get rid of the constant term, plus 42. I'm going to subtract 42. Those are going to cancel out. Negative 7x equals 84 minus 42, which is 42. Going to divide by negative 7 to get rid of the coefficient. X is going to equal 42 divided by negative 7, which is negative 6. There we go. Okay, moving on to the back of the paper. Okay, on the back here, we've got 4 more examples, getting a little bit more complicated each time. I'm going to go kind of quickly through them. Feel free to pause if you need to catch up, but try to stay with me and follow along, listen and write down as I go, so that way you're not watching 3 times as long of a video as you need to be. Okay, for number 7, we've got negative 108 equals 3x minus 3, parentheses 1 minus 4x. I'm going to draw my line, down my equal sign, bring down my negative 108, and start to move along. So first I'm going to distribute. I'm going to look at the distributive property. Let me focus that camera for you. 3x minus 3. What's going to be distributed here is this minus 3. And this 3x is just going to come down. So 3x, then minus 3 is going to get multiplied times 1, which is just going to be negative 3. And then this negative 3 is going to get multiplied by negative 4x. And negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 4 is 12. And there's an x on there, so plus 12x. Then I'm going to bring down my negative 108 again. Equals. And look for like terms over here. Separate my terms. I've got 3x and 12x, both positive. 3 plus 12 is 15, so that's going to be a 15x. And then I'm just going to bring down this minus 3 because I didn't have anything to combine it with. Now it's a simple 2-step equation. Add 3 to both sides. These are going to cancel out. Negative 108 plus 3 is negative 105 equals 15x. Divide by 15. Go to my calculator. Type in negative 105 divided by 15 and get negative 7 equals x. And I'm done. So it looks like a very long problem. It's important to stay moving slowly as you do the distributive property and the combining like terms, but after that it's going to feel very quick because we've done so many 2-step problems. So moving on to number 8. Negative 150 equals negative 6, parentheses, negative 6b minus 7 minus 4b. So negative 150 is going to come down. And then I'm going to look to distribute on the right-hand side. So this negative 6 is in front of the parentheses, so that's going to distribute through. Negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 36. And there's a b on this, so it's going to be positive 36b. Negative 6 times negative 7 is going to be a positive 42. That's the end of my distributing, and I have just to subtract 4b on the end there. So negative 150 equals, separate my terms. I've got a 36b and a minus 4b. Then I have this constant term in the middle. So 36b minus 4b, 36 minus 4 is 32. So 32b plus 42 is my constant term. That's the term I want to get rid of first, so I'm going to subtract 42 on both sides. Negative 150 minus 42 is negative 192 equals 32b. Get rid of my coefficient by dividing both sides by 32. Go to my calculator. Negative 192 divided by 32. I get negative 6 equals b. There we go for that one. All right, last two. The last two that we have are going to be a little bit longer because they have 2 sets of parentheses. So each example, I'm going to have to distribute twice. It doesn't really make it that much more complicated, except for there'll be more terms to combine together in order for us to solve the problem. So I'm going to draw my line down my equal sign here. I'm going to make it nice and long because I anticipate there being more to go here, but we'll see how much room we need. So the first thing I've got is a 2 in front of my parentheses. So 2 times 7p is going to be 14p. I'm going to start that over here. Then I've got to do 2 times positive 4, which is a positive 8. So 14p plus 8. Now I move to the next thing. I've got a negative 6 out in front. That's going to distribute through these parentheses. Negative 6 times 1 is negative 6. And then negative 6 times 4p is going to be negative 24p. And that's the end of that left side. So that's all going to equal 62. So now over here on the left, I'm going to separate all of my terms. And then we're going to combine the ones that are like. So I've got 14p and negative 24p. 14 minus 24 is negative 10. So negative 10p comes down. Then I've got positive 8 and a negative 6. Positive 8 minus 6 is 2. So I'm going to get a plus 2 that comes down. And that's going to all equal 62. So now I've got a two-step equation. So I've got my constant here of a plus 2. I'm going to subtract 2 to get rid of that. I get negative 10p equals 62 minus 2, which is 60. So negative 10p equals 60. Then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 10 to isolate my p. P is going to equal 60 divided by negative 10, which is negative 6. So it's not that much harder, it's just longer, and there's more places to make mistakes. So we've got to be super careful when we're doing really long problems like this. All right, last one, number 10. Negative 5 gets distributed through my parentheses. Negative 5 times 5 is negative 25. Negative 5 times positive a, which is really a 1a. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. There's an a, so negative 5a. Then I move to the next one. Plus 3 times 5a is going to be positive 15a. Plus 3, or positive 3, times negative 6 is going to be negative 18. Equals negative 13. So now I'm going to split up my terms. I've got a negative 5a goes with 15a. I like to do my variables first. So negative 5a plus 15a is going to be positive 10a, because negative 5 plus 15 is positive 10. Then I've got negative 25 and negative 18. So I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to type in negative 25 minus 18, and I've got negative 43 equals negative 13. Going to get rid of my constant term, negative 43, by adding 43. Those are going to cancel out. 10a equals negative 13 plus 43. And I get 30 divided by 10. A equals 3 is our final answer. There you go. So keep in mind, distributing, combining like terms, just be careful of your negatives. One little mistake that you make as you go through could mess up your entire equation and make it not work out to the right solution. So go ahead and be careful. Use any of the tips or tricks that I've showed you here as we went through these examples. Feel free to go back and rewatch any examples that you didn't really understand. And feel free to use this sheet as you move on to practice. Thank you.